Hello everyone and welcome back to week 9. We have a sort of an ease our way back into week here. Everybody on week 9. This video is posting a little bit later, so there's some video and audio issues. I responded to or addressed as many of them as I could on individual files. I did still have a few of you guys where I went back and posted new published files for some of the memoir components when the audio pieces were missing or were not working. Most of them I don't think anybody's was missing, just had some of them that were garbled, which has happened in the past. I was hoping it wouldn't be a factor on these ones, but it happens. If that comes across, if you get, if I make note of an audio file with your feedback on anything and you go to listen to it and it's something that you can't hear, make sure you adjust your volume. I've also found about 20-30% of the students simply have things on their end where they don't know actually how to access certain files. Make sure you're looking at the right things. But on those, I've gotten everyone in terms of memoir, everything for students with the exception of some final drafts. I have memoir summary outlines, the feedback things, the discussion boards, the rough drafts. Those are all back for all students in all of my classes. And then I have about 30-40% of the final drafts and rhetorical analysis summary outlines back out. So this week, the main thing you're watching for now this week is the summary outline feedback from me. Everyone submitted the rough draft already, and you went through your peer review with your classmates. You're still, if we go down here through the schedule, we are in week 9. Make sure that you noted that in week 7, you were discussion board. You were making sure to read and review at least one classmate's no later than Tuesday the 28th, so your classmate had that work to go over and look at it for their final adjustments for the rhetorical analysis. Now, this week in week 9, we got a couple of different things. This Monday coming up, I have this listed with the final draft of rhetorical analysis to be due. We know that is here in the submission in the Dropbox here on the home page. I just have this opened up. Some of the server things are working slow, so I have pages already open up, so it's not taking time to actually link into the file and waste this video time thinking, the computer and processor thinking. So the rhetorical analysis final draft, I have that up already here so you can see. You click on there, and I do have strike through on the portion about the quote, so remember that's not part of the requirement for these. I didn't make that a base requirement. But make sure that you do review what's covered again on here, making sure that you understand that with that general to specific intro, for those of you who did a complete summary outline, I will do my best to have those back to everyone in these two sections that I'm responding to right now and posting videos for. I'll do everything that I can to have the rest of those summary outlines for rhetorical analysis back to students by Wednesday night. It will be late Wednesday night, maybe even into Tuesday morning, but hopefully Wednesday night. Any student who does not get theirs before Friday, I have no problem extending due dates on these because I do have a little bit of a backup with a few students. I have some students that have needed more time and attention and others who have not, and it's been a little bit of an adjustment trying to make sure everybody gets fair time and attention with these. So what I've done on the summary and outlines is students who got the memoir components back first, I'm trying to work in reverse order and making sure students who got those back last are the ones to get this feedback first. So those students have already gotten a lot of their summary outline things back for rhetorical analysis and the final draft feedback and grade for the memoir. Now on the memoir I'll talk about in a moment, but for here on the final draft, just note that you're revising anything on there and addressing these primary components. The documents for it are in here again. You should already have all those. Works cited sample page, just so that we're very clear on here. You should have a works cited that follows your rhetorical analysis. It will just have the centered title, and it will just have the one video that you have there. I shouldn't have 2 items on your works cited page, just one, and you're not referring to anything else besides that one article or that one video in your rhetorical analysis. Yeah, I have students across the board in here with all kinds of different issues in this rhetorical analysis, so it is taking me some time to adequately address all those. I will tell you guys this. I am going to be moving away from the sentence level feedback that I've been doing because too many students in here are relying on the instructor as opposed to supplemental services like the tutoring for things you know that you need help with, particularly at the sentence level. Grammar, mechanics, style, punctuation. Those are things that shouldn't be part of a class at this level. Certainly not when you get to 1520, but 1510, there's supposed to be very little of that. It's supposed to be content related. But this is the basic framing of it. Just remember that for MLA format, you have to have all of this in Times New Roman. This shows the centered title, first line, and then the heavy line after the first line in an entry is a hanging indent. Make sure that you're clear on these things. I do not have any leeway for these when students submit these. If it's not done correctly, you will get marked down and get no credit for the works cited page. Make sure you read through these. You have to be naming the rhetorical devices in the thesis statement, and each topic sentence should introduce another rhetorical device that's being analyzed in that body paragraph. Okay? Now, I will be doing my best, as I said, to get everybody's summary and outline feedback to you by Wednesday evening. That does not mean that that's going to be possible for everyone. I do hope that it does work out that way. Just there always seem to be some things that pop up. But in any event, as long as we stick to that, that'll work out good. And if something does come up and by Thursday or Friday you don't have that feedback from me, again, just message me up here in the instant message on D2L and let me know. And I have no problem making sure that I go through it and see if it's either I didn't get to it or it wasn't published on your end, and extend that due date for the final draft on there. We're moving into research papers anyway, so extending that is not going to be much of an issue. With the week 9 things that are the new assignments here, when you're doing your final draft, make sure that you're looking over what your classmates had to say in the discussion board. I'll also be putting discussion board grades in sometime Thursday or Friday this week. And then the research paper, summary, working thesis, and works cited, minimum of 5 peer-reviewed sources by Monday the 20th. This is just a note that this is upcoming. So this is just a note here that you're going to have this in the the week ahead. So to get you guys started in these chapters on reading, make sure that you go over these. I'm just going to refer to the 4th edition here since it's what most students have. But chapters 15 and 16, review chapter 28 and begin reading your own peer-reviewed full-text articles from the OCC databases for your individual research. See the Dropbox overview of instructions for research paper. And then this week you now have videos assigned. In the content folder above, it's the research and MLA citation for argumentation videos. Select from the left-hand side and watch these two. Getting to know your OCC library and web search versus research. You can feel free to watch all provided, but these are the two that are assigned this week. So that's referring to us going into our content file here, going over to the left-hand side and clicking on these videos and watching the first two. Make sure that you do. This is not something that is just a suggestion. You have to understand what you're going through here with the libraries and doing peer-reviewed research. You're looking for sources on whatever topic you pick. If we look here at the research paper guidelines, there's an additional little video here. Go through that piece. It takes you through the first component here of doing the first piece of giving me the summary and working thesis, and then a works cited page of a minimum of 5 sources. Those 5 sources are peer-reviewed, full text available articles to our OCC databases. The topics that are available for students to pick from are included right here. And remember to read all of these instructions. We'll be going over this. This is something that we'll be working our way into this week and next week. So this will be what you're still doing, right? It's due on the 20th for this component piece. So I expect that this week and next, you're spending a lot of this time here going through and reading peer-reviewed research. You, as individuals, once you've watched those, you have access here to the library and Ask a Librarian. If you have questions about doing your research, contact one of the librarians online through here and ask about some resources or some help with your searches if you're not finding what you need. That aside, if we look here at our library, if we click here on our library link and take ourselves externally, we can start off with just a regular search. Now, if we look back at what we have here in our topics, Let's say we're going to pick something like media literacy. What is it and why is it important? Perhaps I do just a general search and I start with media literacy. I search the database. This is going to give me an OCC overview of all databases. And then I'm going to go over here on my left-hand side and select for peer review and full text online available. I don't have to pre-select for any of the campuses, but I might want to reduce this, perhaps narrow this window. I might go somewhere in this range, and then everything that's peer-reviewed and full text available is going to be, at least at the starting point, relevant for me here as my starting research. So if I now apply filters, which you'll also get another overview of how to do while you're going through the things through the librarian's overview videos, you have now a series of items that pop up that you can start with your reading on here. Some of you might also want to reduce this down to just the articles, maybe articles and videos for some of these things, so you can understand, get an understanding of what media literacy is. And as it says in the guidelines here, media literacy, what is it and why is it important, which will be the main thing you're doing in the report. Remember, these will be third-person objective, okay? So that would be the starting point. So for the first assignment on here, what you're doing in that portion will be doing that summary and working thesis, and then the next portion will be the primary points of support and preliminary work cited page. So you got two different things coming up here. The first week on this research component piece, you're just switching into those, doing the summary and working thesis and the 5 initial sources, so you're making a works cited page. And then next week you'll be doing the portion there where you're actually submitting that. This is just giving you the preemptive that this week start working on that while you're finalizing your final draft of the rhetorical analysis. Start looking ahead towards the research paper piece that you're going to be doing for the class. Remember, it's not argumentation, it's research. So again, here on the assignment files, I wanted to point out, you'll note that things that are in blue here are still accessible. That doesn't mean that you can read everything in there or access all the files, but it does show you what still is open. Everything else that's grayed out here is already stuff that's closed. You don't have access even to that Dropbox anymore. The final draft ones on here, I have those from everyone. As I said, I'll still be getting some of these up through the next week back to students, hoping by next Monday or Tuesday to have everyone's. And what I want you to note here is the memoirs rewrite. On the memoirs rewrite, once I have them all posted to students, I will open this Dropbox and every student will have 2 weeks to revise if they want to. That's only students who need to on these. I do have 6 or 7 in each class who the final draft was fairly little, if anything, that I would even suggest editing or revising. So those of you who got perfect scores on final drafts, there's no need to do a rewrite on this. But with the rhetorical analysis portions, I'm still, as I said, working on getting some of these back to students. Remember that you're not waiting on rough draft feedback to write out your final. Your final drafts will still be done based off of my feedback on summary and outline, classmates' peer review of rough draft. If you're following the directions, those should suffice. For those of you who need additional, because you know you have issues at the sentence level, you need to be contacting and utilizing the ASC tutoring. Okay? So again, that resource is included up here under Student Services, Academic Support Center. Contact them. Make arrangements to submit your work so that someone looks those things over. All right? I do give extra credit for everyone, but everyone is required to have at least one of those sessions. For some of you, I made recommendations to do it for every drafting stage. So this week, again, you're writing up your final draft of rhetorical analysis by next Monday, reviewing the feedback from classmates. Make sure you've reviewed all the notes on what rhetorical analysis was. I will say on a lot of those, the main issues I'm seeing is just students not paying attention to directions. So you're writing about things like you've directly ignored some of the things, and you're talking about appeals as topics of the body paragraphs as opposed to the devices. So on those, I give very little credit. Make sure that you guys are looking at all the instructions and reading them from start to finish. If you have questions throughout the week, contact me here through the instant messaging. Good luck, guys, and I'll see you in a week.